Hey, what's going on, everybody? Andrew here, back for our build review show. It is Thursday, September 12th of 2024. This is a show where I bring users' builds up live on stream and give them personalized advice and feedback about things that I think they can do differently in their DFS processes to help them build stronger lineups, to help them improve their post-contest sim ROIs. So excited for today's show. And if anybody else ever wants me to add them to the queue for a future show, we do the show Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. And all you need to do to get signed up is drop your DK username in the office hours channel in our Discord server. And if you do that, we will be all set. So with that said, let's get our first person up on the screen. This is going to be Wear and Tear from the Discord. So let's get them up and let's hop over to their Sunday main slate here. So I'm going to pull up Sunday. Going to go to the main slate. Going to go to the contest tab. All right. So as far as contest choices here, this looks pretty good. You know, this is somebody who is a little bit more focused on single entries and three maxes, but that's okay, right? This 25 to 50% range, and it's okay to be more on one side of that, right? So this person probably closer to like 50-50. I think it's totally cool. So no problems with their contest selection. Nice to see, you know, always get different examples of people doing different things. And so, you know, I hope that this resonates with somebody here, right? All right. With that said, let's jump into the quarter jukebox, which we have been continuously studying all week long here. And let's let these lineups load up. Saber Sim seems to be being a little slow for me. We'll figure out why that is. But hopefully these lineups load in a decent amount of time here. I'm going to try giving Saber Sim a nice hard refresh and reloading this up here. All right. 1 second. I was having a little bit of technical issues before the show. Looks like still running into that a little bit here. So let's retry this. And let's try to get Wear and Tear back up on the screen. Appreciate everybody's patience. All right, let's let their contest tab load back up again. Pretty weird. It says that you have 5,000 entries. I don't know where that number is coming from. But let's jump in to this quarter jukebox. Not sure if you guys seen it. There's a banner on the bottom of the app saying we're having some issues with contest flashback. I'm positive that they're not related to this specific contest, but they're related to like $1.20 max, $3.20 max, some of the Millie Makers, things like that. So getting like some not able to process those, or like some weird results in some other ones where it's like still showing the live leaderboard. So team is aware of those and trying to fix them, but some of these other contests should be okay here in the meantime. I wonder if a smaller contest will load. Try like a 3 max where there's only, how many entries are in this? 23,000. Not looking good. Not looking good. Let me try one more thing here. Interesting. All right, let's try this. And let's hard refresh one more time. So if this doesn't work, then the show's in trouble. We might have to circle back tomorrow, but let's try it. All right. Bring Saberson back up. Last attempt at this. Third time's a charm. Maybe, maybe not. Ooh, worked. Let's go. All right. Glad we got that worked out. Appreciate you guys sticking around. So let's sort by entries, 20, sim ROI. Great news, right? Wear and tear, 71% sim ROI in this contest. See the high average salary, see good uniqueness, see very high sim average score, like 129. So this user is doing something right. We've been noticing like sim average scores. We said like 126 to 128. This person even had 129, still grading out super well. Very, very high sim ROI in the contest. So not going to see a lot more in this screen. So let's jump into a build. And let's see what this user was doing to achieve this high sim ROI. All right. Looks like using multi-fill. They actually use projected score for all of their contests. Very, very interesting, right? That's something that we haven't seen someone do. So using projected score, no filters, no rules, default minimax salary. No minimax exposure changes. And very, very hands off, it seems like, right? So So all in all, this process seems like it took, a minimal amount of time. I wonder if build 2 is the same. Okay, so it is possible here that build 2 is actually the one that they used, because we're seeing like 3 rules. We're seeing ROI from the contest sims, and this one seems to be a little bit more tinkered with. So I'm going to assume that they used build 2 here. It would make sense to me that the contest sims netted a higher sim ROI than projected score did. Let's check out some of these rules. Don't use players against opposing defense. That's basic rule. Secondary correlation, at least one. So they're building in mini stacks into their lineups here. I think that's fine. These rules look the same. At least one running back, wide receiver, tight end with at least one on the other team. So I'm actually curious what their lineups actually look like. But they're basically saying, hey, I want double mini stacks in my lineups. So we see it here, right? We see Mixon versus Taylor. And then we see Odunze versus Okonkwo. So this is what their rules are accomplishing. We see Douglas versus Iosivas. And then we see Hubbard versus Shaheed. So, yeah, and Sam said maybe they used a projected score build for comparison. I think they did. I think that probably makes the most sense. But these rules are building in a lot of secondary correlation into their lineups. Correlation is like high for the slate at like a level of 6. I think it's okay if you want to do that. And remember, like when people have these ideas that, maybe not be as like mainstream, but they're grading out well in the sim ROI, then it's like, okay, keep doing it, do what you're doing. But then when people do these things that aren't so mainstream and then it's hurting their sim ROI, it's like, maybe you shouldn't do that thing, right? I mean, I feel bad like going against some people, going with some people, but it's more like you can do whatever you want to your build, but just, make sure you're not killing your EV in the contest by doing whatever you're doing, right? So that's the way I like typically look at these things. But rules look fine. I think the rules are good. Looks like they just made the 2 necessary changes to projections. Still no Mintermax exposures, even in this build too. But yeah, other than that, looks really good. I will say, I think that this is maybe one thing to be aware of is that these 2 secondary rules take up a lot of equity in your lineup. Like you only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 7 position players, and at least 4 of them are going to be encompassed by these 2 rules. So you end up with a lot more no QB stacks, right? Like this person has 20, almost 30% of their lineups are unstacked. It is a naked QB. That's just something to be aware of. And like, maybe that is an outcome you're shooting for. Maybe it's not. It seems like you ended up with 0 entry exposure to no QB stacks, interestingly enough. But, just be aware of that, right? And if you're okay with it, great. If you're not okay with it, maybe you need to build in a third rule to do QB +1 or something like that. I don't know. But just be aware of that outcome is the most important thing I'll say here. But other than that, I think wear and tear's lineups look good. Very strong sim ROIs, very strong lineups overall. So great stuff. All right. Next person here going to be from the Discord, father of 3 here. So let's jump in and get them pulled up. They asked us to look at Monday Night Football specifically. So we can totally do that. And let's hop over to Monday. And let's get them up on the screen. All right. So contest tab, as always. Contest selection looks pretty good. The only contest I don't probably love is this $4, this 4 entry $27. I don't know if you have like tickets to that or what. It doesn't seem like a big ticket contest, but it does end up taking like 1/3 of your bankroll allocation into this, multiplier type contest. So I'd say just like be a little careful with that. I don't mind throwing 1 entry into like the bubble screen. I don't mind throwing a few into the milli maker, but like between, between like these $15 shots and this $27 contest, that's like 2/3 of your bankroll allocation, which is kind of just a lot in some of these contests. So I would just be a little careful with those. But with that said, let's jump in here and look at a build. And let's see if the quarter jukebox will load for us. Yeah, and Sam asked about in regards to the last person. I wonder how entry was 0, but the lineup exposure wasn't. Interesting. They might have tinkered with it after the fact or something like that, move some things around. So that can happen. All right, looks like quarter jukebox did load for us. Let's go over to users. I do not see our user here. Their name is going to be DLCTAZ. So let's search for them. DLCTAZ. All right, 20 entries. So good news, right? Positive sim ROI of 48%. So let's go entries equal to 20. Let's close this out. Let's sort by sim ROI. So highest sim ROI is achievable in this contest, like around 100, a little bit over that. Good news is they're positive, right? They're like about positive 50%, but there is some room for improvement, right? So what can we do to bring that set a little bit higher? But already a strong start. So don't feel bad about your set. Strong start. All right. So I'm just going to write down some metrics. So about like 47.5K salary, 38 dupes, 1 unique, 2 under 5, sim average 93.8, sim ROI 48.72%. Okay. So let's get rid of that. So now let's compare what we saw to some of these top sets. And see, this is like kind of what I've been noticing a little bit of a trend of is so DLC here, right? They have like 47.5K salary, pretty consistent with these. They have 50% sim ROI. So their average dupes was 38. So then what I want to do is I want to go and find somebody with similar average dupes, right? So two people that stand out to me are this 45% B Porter and then this 37, right? This 37 is going to be as close to them as you can get. Now, what I see here is that similar like uniques and under 5, right? Theirs was like 1 unique, 2 under 5. This is 0 unique, 4 under 5. But the sim average score is about 2 points higher. So basically what the builder is telling me is like, hey, if you want to play lineups whose sim average score is about you need to have a lower number of dupes to achieve that. So this SJ Well, who has 17 average dupes, a 94.2 average score, is somebody that's like very, very close on the opposite side to DLC. where like, okay, if DLC is going to play that sim average score set, they needed to have lower dupes. But if they're going to play a little bit higher dupes, they need to have more sim average score points. So this is saying like, okay, either they should have played 95.5, like closer to that sim average score with those dupes, or they should have played 17 dupes with like 94.2. And I'm not saying you could just like go into SaberSim and set this up, but I'm saying like this shows you how you get to a higher sim ROI. So hey, I'm at 50%. How do I get higher? Okay, this is telling you there's two ways to do it. Either you go option 1 with the dupes, or you go option 2 with the sim average score. But you have to choose one of those two to either like increase or decrease, right? Increase the sim average score, stay at the dupes, lower the dupes, stay at the same sim average score. So how do we do that, right? But this shows us our parameters. So it shows us we're not very far. We're like 2 sim average score points away, or we're about 20 dupes too high. Now let's go to the build and see how we can get closer to achieving this. Okay. So let's go pool exposure. So it looks like they did some captain curation, which I think is totally fine to do in Showdown. So it looks like they, X'd out a bunch of lower projected captains. Let's go by projection. Some of these I'm not sure where they came from. Like, I don't know exactly why you X Rogers, but it's a personal call. And then Xing, all these lower players as well. Obviously, like Lazard ended up being the optimal captain. So I don't mind setting a floor here at all. But I probably wouldn't X Rogers, even though this ended up, being right. So like good stuff, but just be careful with your player pool curation is all I'd say. Let's go to flex. A few minimum exposures here. I think that's totally cool. Seems like they took a stand, right? Like, okay, hey, I'm going to boost, the 49ers defense, and I'm going to X Rogers captain. Like if you are going to go that route, I think you did it a good way, right? You're telling a story of the slate. Okay, Rogers does bad, 49ers defense does good. I'm going to put in minimax exposures or X players accordingly and kind of build this game script, right? I want to optimize for a very specific game script, right? That ends up looking pretty good. So no issues with that. Nothing in the team stacks, nothing in the stack types. For duplication, right? Accounting for duplication in your process. And there's two ways to do that. You can do that from the contest sim. So what you can do is like set some type of filter for contest sim. You could do like target contest dupes and say, show lineups with dupes less than X. This way is a little bit hard because contests are different sizes. And so our NFL showdown fields have 20,000 lineups. So if you're playing the $1.20, the mini max, the $3.20, even playing with the lineups and the Millie Maker, all those contests are bigger, right? So for those contests, I like to use geomean, a geomean filter, and I'll send something over about, using that and a tutorial for it. But for your contests smaller than 20,000 entries or 20,000 or like matching or less, I think it's okay to use the contest sim dupes option. I think that's fine. So, it's more about just like understanding the tools at your disposal. That way you could use them as you see fit. So I dropped the geomean tutorial in the YouTube chat for anybody wondering about that. And then I'm also going to send it directly to DLC here. That way he has access to it and can start implementing it into his process. But I think some type of geomean custom metric and filter could be really good. You could use it as a rule. So that should help to bring some of those dupes down as well, right? But it's always about finding a balance, and geomean, lineup construction, things like that are always going to be helpful in trying to avoid that problem. I've seen users come in here and say, you know what, I'm going to set my max salary at 48.5 and I'm just going to let it ride. I've seen that too. So, one thing that you'll see in Showdown is that there are a lot of different paths to victory. So it's hard for me to come in here and be prescriptive and just say, you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's more about kind of figuring out what works with your process. But the important thing here, right, is that you're already positive 50% sim ROI. So this is kind of what we were talking about on office hours today. It's like using the sim ROIs to tell you, hey, do I need to overhaul my process? Do I need to make small tweaks, or do I need to just keep doing what I'm doing? Right here, I think that this is a situation where it's like, okay, we could try and make some small tweaks to bring that sim ROI up, but we don't want to completely abandon everything we've been doing because we're obviously doing something right. So the way I would recommend trying this out is, designate a contest to be like, hey, I want to try something new, maybe a geomean filter in a specific contest. So maybe you choose the dime time, right? You're like, you know what? In the dime time, I'm going to go and, Andrew sent me this tutorial. I'm going to read it. I'm going to apply it, and I'm going to try and use it here. And then tomorrow you come in and you look at your sim ROI post contest for that specific contest, and you see, hey, am I toward the top? Am I still in the middle? Am I lower? And from there, you can iterate on it. And then once you find your groove, once you see that thing start working, you can apply it to more contests, apply it to more. So that's what I would recommend as far as learning how to apply those things on a broader scale. But all in all, good stuff. Be careful with the contest selection. And if we can manage dupes a little bit better, I think that'll help out your process a ton. All right. Captain Joe King said, huge fan of the show, already a sub. Should I trade Worthy, Mason, Coleman, and Flowers for Jay Gibbs and more? Honestly, I'm probably not the right person to ask. I'm spending so much time doing daily fantasy sports that I do like one family season-long league and I hardly ever look at it. So I don't know what the right move is there. Coin flip however long Christian McCaffrey's out. So pretty interesting trade for sure. But good luck on that one. Maybe you need to send that to Michael Florio or something and see if he'll respond to you. But all right, everybody, those are our two people who signed up for today's review. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If you guys like this content and you want this done for yourself, want to get some personalized advice, all you got to do, drop your DraftKings username in the office hours channel on our Discord server. I could add you to the queue to tomorrow's show. Tomorrow will be our last show of the week. So get your names in if you want some advice prior to the weekend here. So until tomorrow, everybody, take care. Good luck. I'll see you all. Thanks. Bye.